Hello.
I'll repeat the Honolulu.
Welcome back to coverage of Pro Tour. Return to Ravnica here from Seattle, Washington. My name is Marshall Sutcliffe. I am joined in the booth by Zach Hill, and we are checking out Return to Ravnica draft coverage of Tom Martell. He's on the right side of your screen, versus Ivan Floch of Slovakia. He's on the left. We see lands on the battlefield already, an Azorius Guildgate followed by a mountain for Martell, and Ivan has a Rakdos Guildgate and a swamp, and he's going to make a Dagger Drone Imp.
Now, we were talking earlier in the round about seeing more three-color decks, a little more diversity. It looks like that's what we're seeing in this particular match.
Yep. And right away, the Lobber Crew comes down. Now, right now, the Lobster Crew. Now, the Dagger Drone Imp's going to kind of nullify the Lobber Crew, at least for a while. But the Lobber Crew can actually be a pretty sweet long-game plan as long as you can keep your opponent from killing you long-term.
Oh, yeah. I think Lobber Crew is a very respectable card. And also, there's a lot of cards that care about defenders in this set. We see a Slitherhead.
So a Slitherhead on turn 3 against a Lobber Crew with a Dagger Drone Imp is not necessarily plan A here. He's managed to make a kind of a feeble, a 2-power. You know, he's made 2 power on turn 3 with 3 different colors of mana. And we see a Hover Guard? What is it?
Martell with the Defender Matters deck, it looks like. Yeah,
I love decks like these.
Well, now we're seeing a Dreg Mangler, or is that what we're seeing? Was there Cascade?
No,
no. I was like, what? I've watched too many games of Jun.
Grizzly Salvage.
Grizzly Salvage,
yeah.
got you. All right, so the Slitherhead into the Grizzly Salvage, making good use of his mana.
And it looks like he's got a Towering Indrik that is a Sewer Shambler and 3 lands. So I think he just needs the land. He's just going to take it. Now, the Sewer Shambler's sweet. It's got, basically the cheapest scavenge cost of like Slitherhead's cheaper. It costs 0.
Yeah,
but of the ones that are getting 2 counters on, it's got the cheapest and also the easiest to cast, so he can start doing this. Now, it looks like he's just going to launch party away, and a Dispel comes down. Another Dispel.
Of launch parties getting countered today.
Yeah, these guys are not into partying. All right, so Slitherhead is going to get exiled on the Scavenge, and we're going to make a 2/2 Dagger Drone Imp. It's going to attack, and the Hover Barrier is going to snap block. On end step, the Lobber Crew is going to ping.
Right. Now, Dagger Drone Imp is a very important card in the Golgari deck, and we see the Scavenge in the graveyard ready to level that card up. But an 0/6 Flying Wall means that even if it gets pretty big, Martell's certainly not taking damage.
That's right. Now, Transguild Promenade comes down for Martell, and he just ships a turn back. I'm pretty sure he's got an Izzet Staticaster in his hand. If he does, he missed his window to take out the Imp.
Right. But
we'll see.
I'm almost positive if he could have killed the Imp, he would have.
And the Hover Barrier is looking to pay the ultimate price here. Okay, I don't think that actually isn't a Staticaster, is it? I think it's an Essence Backlash.
Yeah, Essence Backlash.
And maybe a Stealer of Secrets.
There's 2 gold cards.
There is another one. Maybe it is a Staticaster.
All right, so the Imp has fast become a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, so he I always say flashes back, but what I meant was he scavenges the Sewer Shambler onto the Imp, and he's just going to start getting a ton of life and start beating down.
Yeah.
Martell uses his Lobber Crew on end step, draws his card for the turn. And I think it's actually Izzet Charm.
Izzet Charm, got you.
Izzet Charm and 2 Essence Backlash? No, that it is not. It is an Izzet Charm, an Essence Backlash, a Stealer of Secrets, and something else. Oh, Chemister's Trick. That's got to be what that was.
All right.
So Martell's got all of the tricks, and he says attack, and it's going to be 4 damage if it hits.
And it does.
And it did.
I mean, I thought the game was almost over after the Dispel on the launch party, but it turns out all you have to do is pile some counters onto a Dagger Drone Imp, and you're kind of off to the races.
Are we going to see the Izzet Charm used as a draw 2, discard 2 on end step here? Like, so because he's got to deal with his Imp at some point.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I still think he's going to want to Essence Backlash basically anything he can.
But this?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The Indrik doesn't really do a whole lot here.
Because Martell's actually at 11 life here.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, in response, ping you, and then Essence Backlash, and then it untaps.
I lose 2. You take 3 total. You're taking 4 right at the end of the turn.
You're going to be taking 4. You can hear Martell
25. Yep. 25.
He relieves us of the suspense that he will be using the Lobber Crew on end step again.
I mean,
1, 2, 3,
I hear what you're saying about using the Izzet Charm to draw 2, but it also deals 2 damage. So if you can get another burn spell in your hand, you can take out that Imp.
Good point. Okay, that is not. Is that a Sphinx of
That is a
Chimes?
Sphinx of the Chimes.
Okay, see, I thought that was a Steeler Secrets, but it's not. So he's actually
a little bit more powerful.
A little bit more. So this is a 5/6 flying, and he can discard 2 cards of the same name to draw 4. They have to be non-lands. But the fact is, it's 5/6 flying, and it's going to get in the way.
No, that's
now, we've
exactly
seen Ivan, he's got a launch party, which isn't really going to do much here. And he just plays the Sewer Shambler, and Martell says, ping you on Insta.
So the Sewer Shambler really just wants to hit the graveyard so the imp can get big enough to attack through Sphinx of the Chimes.
And that's interesting because you can sometimes just suicide in your Sewer Shambler, but he doesn't have that option. The
Lobber Crew's just sitting there blocking.
Yeah, interesting that it's actually a little better for not killing it.
Yeah, that is true. You don't see that a lot. So the game's sort of stabilizing a little bit behind the Sphinx of the Chimes. Floch just going to want to have any sort of removal spell, and I think he might even have a second launch party in his hand.
He does for sure. So I think his plan right now is setting up to, if he can draw a land next turn, he can launch party the Shambler, make his Dagger Drone Imp even bigger.
Right.
It would be bigger than the Sphinx. It would be a 6/6. That is non-land. That is an Ogre Jailbreaker, which is reasonable considering the fact that right now Martell doesn't have any attacks.
Right.
The question is, if you launch party here, are you waiting? Are you doing it later? I think he's just doing a jailbreak here, though.
Just saying.
Oh, no, he's just doing it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to give him a chance to draw some more stuff. The Is It Charm just got to be painful for Martell right now.
Hey, I mean, he can cash it in and try to hit a cancel or a dispel or, I don't know what else he has in his deck. He does.
Right. I mean, if Floch only had 1 mana up, he could just straight up counter it with the Is It Charm. But 2 mana renders that plan less effective.
That is kind of painful, isn't it?
But
right,
yeah,
he's got
I
the
think
mana
he's doing
set
what you're
aside.
saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Draw 2, discard 2.
Sure. All right, dig. Yeah. The Lobber Crew untaps. He's going to draw 2. I see an Essence Backlash. Ooh, there's a
Sphinx's Revelation.
Now, that's going to be a play that he probably won't want to make now, but that's got to be the card that he keeps, right?
I would guess so. I mean, I think you just have to take a bunch of damage. Next turn, just tap out, draw a ton of cards. But does it look like he's discarding it? Maybe he just doesn't have time.
Well, he does. He's going to be at 9.
He's.
Well, that's the chemistry's trick.
Yeah, so he is keeping the Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah. So the question is, does he have to use it right now? And the answer is no, because he's going to be at 9, and Floch currently doesn't have enough mana to scavenge the Sewer Shambler. So even then, it wouldn't be lethal.
He is going to be down to 5.
He will be down to 5.
Which places him within range of the 5R deal 5.
Yeah, the 5R deal 5. Sounds like a true RNG guy here in the booth. Explosive Impact.
Explosive Impact.
Correct.
As opposed to non-explosive Impact.
Yes.
Of course.
So he draws an Is It Guildgate. Unfortunately, comes into play tapped. It's going to cost him a card here. It also means that he can cast his other stuff, though.
Right.
And, I mean, the question is, do you do it now? Do you just main phase it so that you don't open yourself up to letting Ivan untap with the 6 lands?
Well, exactly. If you don't do it now, the Explosive Impact actually gets you if you just take the hit from the... Or no, I guess it gets you either way.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
If he does it now, he'll be above 5. He'll take 4, but I don't think he's going to go to 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah. So he's going to... He's going to
try to bait.
4.
You can try to bait the burn spell from Floch and cast Revelation in response.
Yeah, well, that's a good one, because normally you would want to do it main, but if you're dead to it anyway, then some people just go Explosive Impact and they just show it to you, and you're like, well, are you playing it? Or what's happening here? And they just feel like they might have won, even though clearly Martell has like 1 million cards in hand and that kind of stuff. All right.
Sure. So we see a Karozda Guildmage. I think the impact would have actually been lethal even through the Sphinx's Revelation. I think it still deals exactly the right amount of damage.
It does.
I mean, yeah, sure.
We see the Karozda Guildmage enter the battlefield, and Sphinx's Revelation about to happen.
For 4?
For 4. So he's going to gain 4 life to go up to 9. Now he's going to be back at 5, but he will have also drawn 4 fresh cards, and he's going to have a ton of mana. He's going to have 8 mana when he untaps to cast whatever he wants.
So Martell's
that feels so good drawing all those cards.
It does. Martell's back against the wall, though. Doesn't really. He drew 4 spells.
He did draw 4 spells.
Gaining 4, taking 4. He's going to remain at 5. Now, we know about the Explosive Impact. Martell, of course, does not. Or I think we, unless that's not
I think it
explosive.
is. We're going to see the Jailbreaker here.
Yep.
And of course, with a gate, so it's an enabled Jailbreaker.
It is indeed. So, I guess he just Floch he's got multiple options now in the next turn. I think he drew an inspiration as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what we see. Of course, Void Wielder here for Martell, very good against the Imp, but needs a plan against taking 5 to the face.
He does indeed, and he has a lot of mana, but not enough to cast Explosive Impact and Void Wielder.
Right.
Yeah. Does he have an untapped land in his hand?
I don't think he does.
Because if he does, then he actually does have enough mana to do both, which is pretty incredible. But nope, he does not. He's got Inspiration. He's got Explosive Impact. He has Goblin Electromancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got the Void Wielder.
So no way to deal with the Explosive Impact from the other side, right?
Yeah, there's 2 Explosive Impact in
Martell's
hand. Yeah.
He's got some direct damage.
He does.
When your opponent's at 28.
28, yeah. He's gained a lot from that
life.
Imp. I'm not a big fan of that Imp in general, but this is the way to use it.
Well, I think the Imp is at its best in Golgari for sure, but even as a 2/2, Vampire Nighthawk's been one of the best formats legal in every time you can play it. So build your own Vampire Nighthawk, still quite powerful.
Especially when it's not costing you actual cards out of your hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we see him playing stuff like Slitherhead. So, this is definitely part of Floch's game plan.
Yeah.
You don't just jam that card into your deck for no reason.
It's too much work for me. I just want value, man. I just want to cast my creature and just have it be awesome and that be done. I don't want to have to work this hard.
Well, you should be less lazy then.
Look, this is not me denying that. So ping you with Lobber Crew. Play an Electromancer. That's going to open up a bunch of cards in his hand.
Floch kind of has to just be pretty stone-faced. He knows he's got the win right here.
Yep.
But he just kind of has to hope Martell casts more and more stuff to make the pathway more and more open for the Lethal Burn spell.
Now, he's drawn 1 land. He might be, he's seen 1 Izzet Charm already. Does he consider playing around it? He has attacks here. That's the thing.
Right.
He can attack with everything.
Yeah, I think you almost just don't show it until you have to, right? There's Dispel that could stop you. There's Izzet Charm that could stop you.
Yep.
You kind of want to just wait for an opening.
All right, and he gave the Ogre Jailbreaker Intimidate with the Karasta Guild Mage, and he attacked with both. Right. So right now this is lethal. So what we're gonna see is Martell's gonna have to tap out here to kill. He just scoops it up.
Yeah.
How come? He had another mana up. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So he gave an Intimidate and attack. Now, either creature are getting through.
Right.
Martell can then tap out, or almost tap out. He had 2 mana left or something to Explosive Impact one of the creatures. But then Floch can just say, I'll give the other one +1/+0 and Intimidate until in turn it's lethal.
Right.
Yeah. So Floch figured it out a lot quicker than I did, but we got there. And, and he never even had to use his Explosive Impact.
Right, yeah. And having that information, being able to conceal what you're splashing red for. You can infer a lot of these things if you played as much draft as these guys have, but every little bit helps, right?
And Frank, if I'm in Martell's seat, I don't put Floch on Explosive Impact.
No,
Yeah, it's a very, there's a lot of Magic that is about hidden information.
For sure.
He successfully hid that card very well.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Dak Faden is the greatest thief in the multiverse. Follow his adventures in the Magic the Gathering comic produced by IDW. A special promo card unique to the IDW comic series comes in each issue. Find out more about these comics at wizards.com/magic merchandise. So let's talk about their decks. Martell, he went a little deep with this one,
yeah,
right?
He did.
It looks like he's got the mana fixing to support the things that he wants to do.
For sure. And he's got a lot of really, really good cards. I just think the Dagger Drone Imp proved to be a big problem. He's got removal. He just drew it at the wrong time. Meanwhile, Floch, pretty traditional Golgari deck. I'm wondering what the guys are going to do to sideboard. We saw that Towering Indrik game 1 seems like exactly the opposite of what you want against a deck like Martell's. Pillar Field Ox, just a 2/4, and not really putting a clock on the opponent, not going to end the game anytime soon. So I think Floch's looking for an excuse to side that card out right now.
Okay. Getting a couple of updates from the back tables from Sheldon Menery. He says that Samuela Estrati has defeated Yelgar Virgasma 2-0.
That means Yelgar's eliminated?
He's out.
Wow.
Reed Duke, we were just talking about, Rich and BDM were just talking about him at the news desk and his bounce back after, a tough performance at the Players' Championship. he continues that trend. He has dispatched back-to-back Pro Tour top 8er Dennis Rashid, also 2-0.
Right, now that leaves Rashid, I still think, at a healthy 5.
Yeah, they're both looking fine there. But, you know, Dennis Rashid, no slouch.
No, you know, you don't really hear a lot about Rashid. He doesn't really write that much for any of the major Magic websites.
That's right.
You know, but I mean, quietly just putting up one of the most commanding seasons I can remember.
Yeah, it's just when you're in the shadow of John Finkel.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's a tough spot. I mean, you know, what the guy's done is incredible, but John Finkel kind of takes the spotlight if you're doing the exact same thing he is.
John, to put into context, also back-to-back top 8s, in addition to being one of the greatest players of all time.
Right. So. Maybe he'll even get another one here. I mean, this isn't the kind of thing that you can just count out, and he's off to a really good start as well.
No, exactly. Now, watching him come back, I mean, I remember when I was a kid and John was crushing tournaments. I was like 11 years old.
Yep.
Now, like, nope, still crushing tournaments.
Doing that. Still doing that thing.
The game's changed a lot, but it's still Magic.
All right, so who do you like in this matchup? We got to see quite a few of the cards from Martell's deck, not quite as many from Floch's side of things. You know, I feel like Martell's still the favorite. Like, his deck does a lot more powerful things. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, usually you just want to be the control deck against a mid-range deck. You know, the mid-range deck isn't killing you fast enough before your bombs get online. With cards like Sphinx's Revelation, I mean, you've got to say that Martell is favored as the game goes along. But as we saw that game, it wasn't as though Floch did anything just mind-blowingly powerful.
He didn't do much.
Know?
He had an answer for the Sphinx.
Right.
And that's an important one because that card's tough to deal with.
Yeah, Sphinx of the Shine is also a great element of the late game.
That's right. Yeah, but I mean, you know, besides having that, he didn't really do a whole lot. He scavenged a couple of guys on our dagger drone, and that was about it.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the offensive that he made.
I'll go first.
Okay. No, for sure. I mean, it just goes to show how powerful Scavenge is. A deck like Martell's is not really putting you on a fast enough clock to prevent you from scavenging.
That's right.
And I think that could be a deciding factor in the rest of this match.
Now we see an Electrickery on the side of Martell as he ponders whether or not he's going to keep.
Okay.
He's got all three colors and an inaction injunction. I think he's going to keep it. And Floch says, nope, going to 6. Sure. Martell's hand is not amazing, but I like it quite a bit. He's got an Electrickery, an inaction injunction, and a Sphinx in his hand, and 4 lands.
Yeah, I mean, in the 4 lands is actually great here because you're pretty confident that you'll have 6 by turn 6. I mean, I think you just kind of want to just play lands and not die and then hope your Sphinx takes over the game. I mean, we saw Launch Party exist as an answer to that from Floch's deck, but I mean, you're never really too upset when your opponent's casting Launch Party. And, you know, Martell had plenty of answers to it, so.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of those things that I think is kind of funny is just, I mean, Floch has some creatures that you don't mind launch partying, but then, like, you know, how good are your creatures if you don't mind just sacrificing them?
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's like even when you get your combo with Launch Party, don't get me wrong, Launch Party is a totally fine card. We're seeing people play a lot of it today. But, you know, it's not as though, like, you're just getting a 2 for 2 as opposed to a 1 for 2.
Yeah, it's often a 1 for 2, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you know, like, let's say he does a Sewer Shambler, how much, you know, how it is +2/+1/+1 counters for 3 mana at sorcery speed worth a card? Probably not, but it's approaching it.
It's something close to
half a card-ish or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
So, but again, you know, that we talked about that, the kind of thing we can expect from the Golgari deck, right? It's gonna try to grind you out.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the card we actually saw that was devastating there was the Grizzly Salvage.
Yes.
Which binned the scavenged creature, you know,
the Sewer
gave
Shambler,
Floch the additional land he needed to
That's
operate.
Right.
So, I mean, that card, you know, the Golgari deck, again, playing exactly like it's supposed to, you know, just sort of adding consistency, making the game draw out in the mid-game, and filling its graveyard up.
Yep. All right, so Martell's going to lead on a mountain, so he has Electrickery up just in case it's relevant. He'll be looking to get a 2 for 1 out of the Electrickery, but he'll take a 1 for 1 if that's all he gets. Floch has no early plays so far.
Yeah, I mean,
and that suits Martell just fine.
Right, yeah, Martell, you got to be super excited about your opponent coming out of the gates pretty slow when you're holding a 5/6 flyer.
That's right, and it looks like Martell's drawn a couple lands as well, so he just keeps doing that. And Sewer Shambler does come down, but Martell's going to be patient. He doesn't need to use that Electrickery right away. He'll probably even take a damage. He might just inaction injunction it to get a card. It just kind of depends on what he wants to do.
Yeah,
Martell's a very patient player, though.
He is, and that's how you have to play when you're playing a control deck like this. I mean, the thing about Sewer
He does
Shambler,
take it.
And yeah, right, he takes 2 damage. It's not really clear whether it's better for you that card is in play or in your graveyard.
That is a good point.
Or, I mean, better for Martell, right? So killing it, it doesn't really accomplish a lot. I think he's going to want to save that Electrickery for the Dagger Drone imps and other cards with evasion. I mean, Martell's got to be thinking here, like, if I can't deal with a 2-1, what is my deck doing?
That's a good point. Now, Martell's trying to Dispel, but Martell's going to take another damage here. He's patient to just keep getting hit with the Sewer Shambler, and I think he realizes that he's going to find another card at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no reason not to just keep playing lands here.
That's a pretty ideal draw.
Being patient. Yeah. Those
Hover Barrier means that the Sewer Shambler doesn't get through anymore. He can leave up Electrickery. What does he have that he's just going to do nothing?
He has the Sphinx, but he doesn't want to expose it to removal with Dispel in his hand.
But I'm just saying, why wouldn't you play the Hover Barrier?
Why wouldn't you play the Hover Barrier?
Yeah, because he can have Dispel and Electrickery up.
Does he have Inspiration? I'm not exactly
that
sure.
could be the case. Something else that he wants to spend his mana on. Maybe he drew Counterspell.
It's not clear.
No, he doesn't. Oh, he does have a cancel. Yeah, he's got cancel.
Oh, okay.
So the question is, does he want to play it now? And that also explains why you didn't run the Hover Barrier out there. Although I kind of like just running it out there, because canceling the Sluiceway Scorpion just feels miserable.
Yeah, you're not
he can
really
just
excited about that at all.
No, he can just flash it back, or I just keep saying that. He can just scavenge it next turn if he wants.
So awkward mana for Martell.
It is indeed.
He has 7, which is exactly what he wanted, but he only has 2 blue mana, so he can't leave open Dispel.
He cannot. And, this is where, there's a downside to going into 3 colors. And sometimes it's just that you don't ever hit your colors. But a lot of times it's something like this, where it's just like, I really like to play this. But, Martell, again, we were mentioning just a minute ago, he's patient. He's not in a big hurry. And, what did he draw? Another cancel? He has to have, right?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
I don't really get not playing the barrier here. I mean, you don't really mind exposing it.
I think you play the barrier, but I have an idea. I don't know for sure if this is why, but I have an idea. So he wants to get the Sewer Shambler.
Right.
He wants to Electrickery it and make it and make Yvonne use his scavenge ability and waste a turn, etc. Now, the downside though is that if he plays Hover Barrier and Martell Electrickeries, then it opens up the door for Yvonne to launch party it and get value, where right now launch party doesn't do anything.
We're about to see an extremely devastating giant growth, I think. However, I might be wrong on that.
I see. Well, and this is a downside to waiting until it's your opponent's turn to do this kind of thing, but it's probably worth the risk generally. He's got the mana to just overload it if he wants.
Right.
But giant growth, remember, Martell has Dispel in his hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, and he doesn't even cast the giant growth.
He just didn't even bother.
Just doesn't even care about it. I mean,
that's kind of interesting because that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, I might just be overvaluing how good damage is, but to me,
it's half of Martell's life total.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Martell has hit the island, and the big Sphinx is going to come down. He's not going to bother with the inaction injunction. He does have a target for it, but it just doesn't do anything here.
That is a giant growth in Floch's hand.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand, maybe you just don't value it that highly. And
I mean, it feels like keeping your creature alive and bashing for 7 is pretty sweet. Maybe Floch had an idea that the Dispel was available.
The thing is,
it's hard to tell what another player's thinking all the time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, how upset are you, though, if you manage to draw the Dispel? I mean, he's only got to keep 1 mana up to use it.
Right, and this is a good situation to describe what you're talking about, because ultimate price is going to come down on the Sphinx of the Chimes, and it's going to get Dispelled.
Well, I don't believe that is an ultimate price. I think that is
it's an Assassin Strike?
Assassin Strike.
Okay, yeah. So that will not get Dispelled.
That is a sorcery?
It's a sorcery, right. It costs 4 black, and you can see it on your screen. Destroy target creature, its controller discards a card. Pretty big game here. It really is. I mean, he's going to get a card that Martell would rather not discard. Probably just the inaction injunction. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
that just
either an action
represents a card
injection or dispel. The barrier also not really doing a lot right now, and is just sort of asking to get hurt by the scavenge
That is true, and he looks like he agreed with you. I kind of figured that Martell would want to have that up at some time, but yeah, you're right. It's not really doing a whole lot.
The thing is, like, you're still not in bad shape from Tom's seat right here.
No, you're not. I mean, he's facing down 0 power and 0, it's just nothing.
Like, all you really want to do is hang out until you draw Sphinx's Revelation and hope it's not in, like, the bottom of several cards of your deck.
Right.
But,
Martell's
under no pressure, Martell can just play some lands.
You think he's just going to act in action injunction just to cycle it? And he does so. He draws a land. Now, this could definitely prompt him to use his Is It Charm actively. It depends on what Ivan Floch does here. As far as the Spell Pierce goes, it's not doing anything.
I'm not a big fan of casting an action injection there. I mean, like, what are you in a hurry to get cards for? Why not just sit and draw cards and wait till you can use an action injection to solve a problem? Is this a second Sphinx of the Chimes we see from Martell's side?
Is that another one?
My goodness.
It is.
This is no slouch of a deck from Tom Martell.
Did you hear the little laugh from Floch? He's like, well, okay. I guess sometimes they have 2 of them.
Is this like a...
Now, there's a launch party here. And it's going to get cast, and the gate
couldn't dispel fast
enough. Now, this one didn't hurt as bad. Gatecreeper Vine, a really great target for that.
Right.
All right, so I think we're going to see a Xanikev Locust. And then probably it's going to block and attempt a Giant Growth.
Which would be really good.
It would be. It's a 3/3. It's out of range of the Is It Charm.
We're seeing a lot of defensive combat tricks being played.
We have.
Today.
And I mean, when you're facing down a 5/6 with flying, you kind of do what you got to do.
Yep.
And you see he plays an extra land there, so he can make sure to play around
Is It Charm. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a very good play because it's very tempting sometimes just to keep that card in your hand and maybe bluff something.
But that's the thing. A lot of brand new players just play all their lands they don't need to, but a lot of sort of middling players like to hold like 2 or 3 lands to always represent like they have action. But sometimes you just need like the 8th land.
I know, because sometimes you draw something that draws you cards and you want to play an extra turn. I've kind of gotten over that whole thing. I realized at some point that people stop playing around things anyway, and so why am I trying to represent it? Like, if it's free, I will, but otherwise I won't. All right.
Draw 2, discard 2.
Yeah, again with the Is It Charm, drawing 2 and discarding 2, and I see Transguild Promenade, an island, looks like an Is It Guildgate, and I believe a Mizium Skin.
The Mizium Skin and the +0/+1 might be very relevant
could
here.
Be very relevant.
That was a last-second R&D change on that card.
Was it really?
Yeah, we wanted it to do a little more.
It was just hexproof before that?
Yeah, it was just hexproof. We just wanted to see a little bit more, what's the mechanic? It used to be called overload. We wanted to see more overload getting played, and we kind of beefed up Mizium Skin, a small
What was its playtest name, do you remember?
Overload.
It was just called Overload?
It was just called Overload. It was called Radiance for a while.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Sorry. Yeah, it was called Disperse, not Overload.
Oh, Disperse.
Yeah, like it was going to fan out. It was called Disperse. Before that, it was called Radiance, like the card Radiate.
Okay.
But then I think Radiance is a mechanic or something.
Oh, it is.
I can't. But yeah, that was the path of it. But
so R&D's ran out of names.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying.
Left.
Clearly, yes. We clearly spend all of our time thinking about cute names for playtest mechanics.
All right, so Sphinx of the Chimes is going to battle here. He sends it into the red zone. And we're going to see right now if Floch is going to make the play of block plus Giant Growth or not.
So
he says Giant Growth first. Now, this is a clever play. And as you predicted, the Mizium Skin comes down and does protect the Chimes. But Floch, interestingly, did that first so he can make sure that it resolved before throwing his creature in.
Right. You don't have an awkward block where you throw your 3/3 in the way, cast Giant Growth, get it dispelled, and be sitting there having done something for no reason. Wow. A huge Guild Mage.
Wow. Guild Mage here. Now, Tom Martell's at 14. Even though Floch's still sitting at the full 20 life.
Right.
And look at this. He is going to scavenge right back for 5, and it's going to bring Martell down.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to see Martell's already used up at least one electricity this game. So, Floch has the ability here, if he wants to just like sacrifice the Locust, he can make 5 1/1s. Then after that, he can scavenge the Locust. It only costs 2 black to scavenge, and he can attack for a ton of damage.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, the Guild Mage right now is just...
It's a beast.
Yeah,
you're not
it's just going to end the game if it doesn't get off the table right now. Although it does look like we have a removal spell from Martell.
Yeah,
so
he's
still
got
in this
explosive
game.
impact, and he's going to have to use it now. Like, you need to be able, you need to make Floch make a decision about if he wants to make the 1/1s or not, and which creature he's sacking. Now, if he just targets the Guild Mage, then it's an easy sack of the Guild Mage, but you might even want to do the Locust. Like, it depends on how much he values having just a ton of 1/1s around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the nice thing about the Locust is that as a 5/5, it can be blocked by the 5/6 Sphinx of the Chimes.
Where a bunch of 1/1s harder to block.
Yeah, precisely. Although, Floch can still get a little bit of value out of that second ability because he has exactly 4 mana up. Again, like we were talking about, playing all those extra lands helps out in situations like this. You may not be able to anticipate them, but they sure do matter when they come up.
That's true.
Sacrifice this guy.
Floch says, how many cards? 1. And he does, in fact, sacrifice the Locust that makes 5 1/1s. And he's got the scavenge ability in the graveyard. Now, that one won't be able to get in, but he can start hitting Martell for 4.
Wait, and Martell being at 9 and with 5 damage represented from what's the guard?
He takes 4. He's got explosive impact to finish him off, and he's got it. Martell extends the hand. So Martell was very patient. He set up a pretty nice board state, but again, Ivan Floch is able to outmaneuver with kind of the grindy, scavengy stuff.
Yeah, and I'm still wondering about a couple of plays that match. I mean, we talked about casting the wall earlier. We talked about the Isn't Charm, I think, when he cast it as a draw 2, discard 2. I don't know if we brought it up, but to me that seemed a little premature. It's possible that it wasn't. I mean, he definitely had excess lands in his hand. But, Shock is a very high-pick, limited card.
Yeah, you mentioned the inaction injunction as well. What would that have done later in the game? Because he used it just to cycle.
Right.
It didn't have an effect on the board. It was, Floch didn't have that 5/5, Locust that he could say, all right, you take a turn off, buddy. I'll be drawing a card over here. But it's worth questioning for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Magic. There's so many complicated decisions that it's hard to be
I just let you make a 4/3 and just play my 06 and just block.
I had a giant growth at the time in my hand, and I was thinking, should I play it? Shouldn't I? Maybe I should, but I'm not sure. It comes into handy later.
I mean, I knew you had it. That's why I had to attack into you to make you giant go through my skin will save my guy.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, like if I wait and let you pump your guy, then I'm just losing on combat. So
yeah, sure.
That's good. It makes you look real smart. All right,
that's one of my actual primary concerns.
Well, you got there, buddy. Now we can talk about more Magic. So it looks like we're going to be moving over to the other table. I see Yuya Watanabe there, and it looks like Alex. Now you said this guy is real good.
Yeah, Alex is a quite good player. Been around a long time. Played against him on the PTQ circuit a long
Is it Miloton?
Miloton, I think is his name. I just call him Alex.
Okay.
But a really strong player going on a tear today, but he's been around a long time, knows how to play some Magic cards.
Speaking of a strong player on a tear, there's the player of the year. And he's won it twice, Yuya Watanabe. Now, we get a look at Yuya's hand, and I see a Celestia charm. I don't see anything else currently. I see he's got a bird token, an Axebane Guardian, and a Gatecreeper Vine. There's also a detention sphere with apparently nothing under it.
Huh.
Maybe it might have killed a token.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was going to say, normally not what you want to be doing through detention sphere, just running it out there as an enchantment.
Now on Alex's side, this is interesting. There's an Azorius Arrestor, a Sunspire Griffin, and a Palisade Giant. This is a Palisade Giant is a very interesting card.
Yeah, explain what that card does.
Yeah, so it's a 2/7.
Okay.
For starters, for 6 mana, 4 white. And what it says is that if you or your creatures would take damage, the damage goes to him.
Okay.
So he kind of martyrs himself for you. But if your opponent doesn't have enough power to actually do the full 7 at once, they just can't enter combat or do anything. So it's this interesting card where if it's just by itself, it kind of doesn't do much.
Sure.
But if you manage to get your opponent to have not that much power on the table, then it can really wreak havoc with combat.
In this situation, we see it attacking like the big, burly, 2-power, 6-mana creature it is.
And a Centaur healer post-combat is going to gain Alex even more life, putting him at 26, and Yuya is sitting down at 10. Now this match is currently tied.
Wow.
Oh, Sphinx's another one.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Sphinx's Revelations at the feature match table.
Oh, man, he lays out all 6 cards.
Goodness.
That is just devastating.
And going back up to a healthy life total, coming down from
from 10 to 16.
Coming out from 10.
Yeah, so the Axebane Guardian making double mana because of the Gate Creeper Vine and plus all his lands. Oh, sure, I'll draw a card for the turn, too. I got to say, if you've ever been in the other seat from this, it sure is painful because even though you might still be ahead on the board now, you just know bad things are coming. We see an Archweaver for Yuya, which is a card you don't see that it doesn't get too much play.
The 7-mana, 5/5 reach trample.
That's right. It's the biggest spider around, and there he is. He hits the table.
He's weaving some arches.
Yeah, there is still the Celestia Charm, but he's just not worried about casting other stuff right now. Although he has to have 3 mana up. So I see he's got a Common Bomb that he can play. There's also an Avenging Arrow that he can play this turn, and then next turn he can play a Towering Indrik.
Now, we're acting like Yuya at a very healthy life total. On the other hand, a collective blessing.
This is one that you and I looked at in a little top 5 commander cards review, and collective blessing is going to give all of Alex's creatures +3/+3 and make them just massive.
Yeah, I mean, Overrun always been one of the premier cards.
Yes.
So what if your Overrun just never goes away?
It just sticks, yeah. Now, there's an Avenging Arrow, so if Yuya wants to take some damage, he can use Avenging Arrow to take out whatever he needs to, Palisade Giant or the healer. But he also has a few other options because he's got a Celestia Charm. And the Celestia Charm, one of its modes, can take out, let me look here, actually any of the creatures. He can just pick a creature and he can kill it. So,
yeah, one of the downsides of making all your creatures into absolute giants is that they tend to have more than 5 power.
Yeah, so he can just exile any of his creatures, but the fact that all 4 creatures have 5 power is kind of intimidating from Yuya's seat. So he's carefully considering here, do I want to use up my arrow? Because remember, the arrow is only going to work during the turn in which one of these creatures is dealt damage. It's not like he can untap and just arrow.
Right, exactly.
Where he can untap and Celestia Charm. So I expect there's going to be some blocks to stay alive and then Avenging Arrow.
What I think he's going to want to do is find some way to pick up that detention sphere and target a collective blessing. I don't know if there's any way in the format to do that, but
can't think of one offhand.
You got to be staring at it. It's kind of taunting.
No, that doesn't do it either. Even Cyclonic Rift doesn't do it.
Oh, because it only targets your opponent's creatures. Oh, wow.
Or non-land permanents, but yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. Fairy Imposter, you can only pick up creatures.
Void Wielder can't do it.
Oh, man, that's rough.
That would be nice, though.
So Yuya trying to figure out how to block in this situation without dying. He's still going to lose some cards, but losing an 0-2 and a 1/1 bird, you're not too upset about.
No, he's going to take 10 and go to 6 here if those are the blocks he makes. Again, assumption being that he's going to use his Avenging Arrow while it's active. Another play he can make though. No, none of these. I think just the Avenging Arrow is probably the play here. You can see he's he's pretty torn, and it looks like he's just showing us the Avenging. We're in a soundproof booth, so he can't hear me. But it looks like he's just trying to give us a little hint that might be what's coming.
Well, kind of between a rock and a hard place right now.
Yes.
You got to do your best to stay alive.
So the good part about this situation is that he's not dead.
Right.
That happens a lot of times that you're just dead. And he's going to get to kill not 1 but 2 of the creatures by the time Alex gets his untap step.
No, that's true. I mean, and so he merely has to face down, 1 or 2
Did he forget?
Oh, no.
Oh, I think he might have forgot to do it. Ew, you see the frustrated shuffle there. So
because he doesn't have 3 mana anymore because the Axebane Guardian only produces 1 now that the Gatekeeper Vine has entered the graveyard.
That's right. And so now the Avenging Arrow is not an option. And he went to his untap, but he took it back. And, I think he's frustrated with himself because I really think he wanted to use it. Now, he can do the Celestia Charm right now, but he knows that that's not ideal.
No, exactly.
Do you hear him sighing?
Yeah. I mean, he audibly frustrated.
Yeah.
Uses Charm, but again, yeah, Arrow he could use on that turn, and Charm he could use whenever.
Because
so
he's going to have to take more damage.
very rare mistake from Yuya, and you can
Yes.
hear him actively frustrated about it.
You can absolutely hear it on him. Now, what I was going to say before is the thing about Collective Blessing is that let's say Yuya had used the arrow, untaps, or whatever, and ends up taking out 2 of the creatures. You feel like you're doing pretty good. The problem is he still has 2 5-power guys, and any creature he draws is massive.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
security
Yuya
blockade.
is still not in incredible shape after he does that,
No.
but he's in a lot better shape than he is now.
That's right. Now, it looks like Towering Indrik is going to come out after the security blockade. Quick mana check.
Yuya has some cards in hand, but I mean, it's just when all your opponent's creatures are bigger than all of your creatures, it's hard to get too far ahead.
But he's got some interesting choices here because the Towering Indrik plus collective Common Bond, if he gives both tokens, can actually block 5-power guys.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, that's true. But that's going to tap him out.
That's right, and well, I mean, he can do it on Alex's turn, but I mean, he wants to get that arrow out of his hand and get something dead with it.
And the Tristani,
did you see that?
Yeah. Oh, just his entire body language is different. Truly.
It really is, but this is the time where at least he's taking his time and trying to collect himself and get back in because that's done.
Yeah, I mean, you
cannot
can't
change that.
Right? Yeah, you can't. The thing about this level of play, you can't beat yourself up when you make a mistake. If you demand perfection of yourself, everybody makes an error, right? So a hallmark of a truly excellent player is their ability to get back in the game when they have made a rare misstep.
That's right.
Yep.
Milotan, unbeknownst to Yuya, has a removal spell as a Tristani's Judgment.
He's got a Tristani's Judgment, although Yuya just passed the turn back. So it looks like he wants to do Common Bond.
Common Bond Avenging Arrow?
A Common Bond Avenging Arrow, and he wants to use the Archweaver to eat something.
Okay, so kind of just keeping it around to be the brick wall and trying to stabilize from this.
Yeah, because I mean that creature can actually trade, and with the Common Bond, it can just straight up eat. Whatever it blocks here.
Right, despite the Collective Blessing, it's just so huge that it doesn't matter at that point.
Now, but Yuya's in a really risky spot because we go to combat, we do see 6 mana back for Alex, and if Yuya goes for the Common Bond on the Archweaver, he is just going to get blown out. It's going to be just a savage 2-for-1.
An absolutely devastating Tristani's Judgment. Yeah, you really have to give credit to Alex here. I mean, when your opponent casts Sphinx's Revelation, draws a million cards, to have your own head in the game and figure out what you need to do to win is also very commendable.
Yeah, I was mentioning that, being on the other end when people say that, and it's just, your shoulders just kind of slump because I played enough Magic to know how bad that is. All right, Common Bond, target this and this. So he's going to target both on the Archweaver, and pretty sure the Archweaver's just going to bite it here.
Yeah.
Yep, there's 6 mana. Now, there will not be a populate token, or, a token will not be made off populate. Yep.
And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You don't get a populate token, but I can't think you're too upset if you're Milotan right now.
I don't know. Right, so we've got 2 blocks, go to damage, everything dies. There's still a 2/2, and it's gone too because that had to block as well. And Avenging Arrow, this guy.
Doesn't even have enough mana to prevent a damage with the security defense.
He had to use it all up. Yep, security blockade. Not doing anything there. That's an interesting card. It's the Soul Tithe. Now, the downside to a card, so Soul Tithe, that can go on the Collective Blessing.
Right, it means he has to pay 6 every turn.
Yeah, it just taps him out every turn, but he just pays it.
Yeah, right.
That's the downside.
I mean, that is one of the most effective answers in the format to a card like Collective Blessing, but not when you're so far behind that they can just afford to pay it.
And this is where Yuya is really frustrated because this was a way for him to get back in the game.
Oh, for sure.
Because if Alex isn't able to progress his board and he has to just keep paying every turn, and if Yuya can double block and trade a guy or something, then he can live. And he says prevent 1 damage and block and trade. So he does that, and right now Yuya is going to drop to 2, I believe, and he needs an answer for a flyer. Couldn't quite see what he's got the Towering Indrik and a Skymark Rock. Okay.
Well, he's trying really hard. I mean, he's doing work right now.
And these, unfortunately, do not have enough power to double block and trade with the Sunspire Griffin.
Do they not? Oh, because it's exactly 6.
It's a 5/6
exactly
with
5
farm.
damage.
So
Wow.
this is a chump block.
I mean, this is a tight game.
This
with
is
some
very, very tight.
haymakers.
Yuya's at 2.
Goodness.
And Yuya kind of puts the block up but then doesn't finalize it. He can't take it. And you'd think he'd want to keep the highest power guy alive in case he draws something else with high power that can block.
Well, Skymark Rock can't return the Griffin Dude's hand. Right?
It cannot. No, it's toughness 2 or less, and since the collective blessing is out
so
there,
not even close.
Not even close. Yep.
Right, so it blocks with the Indrik, says, all right, maybe I'll muster. So, oh, wow.
Is that a fencing ace?
That's a fencing ace. Pretty good collective
and
blessing.
2 lands, and Yuya is forced to extend the hand. Let's see if he...
Yeah. So I have 3 mana after.
He says, yes, you were right. I don't know what that means, but it probably means I'm very unhappy with myself.
And yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we were saying, and that's exactly what the players feel. Sometimes a very small decision can make all the difference in a game of Magic.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to the booth. I am Marshall Sutcliffe. This is Zach Hill. And yeah, I mean, he did make a close game of it in the end. The mistake cost him, though.
No, yeah. I mean, it cost him dearly. I mean, it's hard to say whether that would have been the difference for sure, but at the very, it was a really close game at the end. The Tithe, got him back in the game. So, yeah, I mean, mistakes cost you in a game of Magic.
Yeah, but, I think it does go to show that, I think, you get really frustrated with yourself when you make a mistake. I know I do.
Right.
If I lose a game with Magic, but I feel like I played it well, I'm usually okay.
Oh, of course.
I don't like it, but I'm okay. But when I make a mistake like that, I'm
man.
real unhappy with
not
myself.
Not going to sleep well tonight.
But I got to say that Yuya did pull himself together and make a game of it, Sphinx's Revelation helps. but he had his plan. He made the mistake, and he was really kicking himself.
Right.
You could get the feel, but he did pull himself together and make a game of it at least.
For sure.
All right. I am told that they are ready at the news desk for a little more action, and so we're going to send it back there now, and we'll be back tomorrow.
I think we got one more round.
I'd love to do one more round. Thanks for asking me. So we're going to send it back to the news desk, and we'll talk to you guys soon.